So, Mark and I have watched. What would you say this is a cinematic masterpiece, or um,
Well, it's definitely a movie.
we watched Dirty Grandpa, and so I previously had seen this. I think probably about a year after it came out. So it came out in 2016. I remembered it very fondly, and I watched it last night. Mark, you watched it last night. There was a lot that I forgot about this movie, um, but it's. I'm trying to find what the best word to describe it is. An adventure.
Yeah, I want to. Okay, I want to hear how you would describe it. An adventure.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
it's
start with the plot, or start with like a basic premise. What's it about, Mark?
okay. So it's essentially a road trip movie that kind of
Yep.
forgets it's a road trip movie. Like they don't ever get to their destination, right?
Well, I think they
But
do at the
it's
end, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah, but you're right.
they all
know-
get to their own destination because there's a lot of evolution of these characters. But it starts out. So Dirty Grandpa's wife dies. Dirty Grandma, we assume.
Dirty Grandma, which is the sequel, Dirty Grandma. Well, she did. She
She did. Be a prequel.
The prequel. Dirty Grandpa, the aforementioned Dirty Grandpa, performed as Robert De Niro. His wife dies.
Yeah. And so she says on her deathbed, we don't see that, but he says that on her deathbed, she said she wanted him to, find someone else and move on. So he gets real dirty real quick.
He sure does.
He's always been dirty, but I guess we didn't know that.
Well, as he says, exasperated to his grandson, which is Zac Efron.
Twice.
He says, I haven't had sex in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So along with a lot of other colorful ways of describing how he wants to have sex, that is his goal. So basically, yeah, it's a road trip. Zac Efron, who is like this, he's basically like a Ken doll. He's dressed like a Ken doll, right? Like, stuffy, kind of like tucked in, button down shirt with some khakis and loafers on. He works at his dad's law firm doing corporate law, which he says a lot. I do corporate law, SEC compliance.
They make it a running joke.
Yeah. And he's married to, should we say, maybe the most awful woman in the entire world?
His fiance. He's getting married to,
Juliana Hough, who plays this kind of like uptight Stepford wife very well. She's got like
she does
mom
the character.
cut.
Yeah, that's the character.
Totally. She's got the mom cut.
I liked the mom cut.
Yeah, it's good. Like she's very attractive, regardless of her playing, a demon, basically. Well, I guess she's not that bad, but like
he seems very withdrawn though from the start. I could
totally
argue that they're both bad characters.
Yeah. Zac Efron is kind of this like laissez-faire, like putting materialism over like his soul kind of character. And Robert De Niro, so we see him first at the funeral, and he's very somber and he's got a beard. And he's just like sitting there, and Zac Efron's with his wife, and his wife, this is why you would say she's like terrible, is she's asking him in the middle of their funeral, in the middle of the wake, what color tie she should get him, a coral or something else. It's salmon. Basically like salmon. So it's two ties that look basically the same, and he's a little distracted. And of course, Adam Pally, who has a great bit part in this movie.
Adam Pally, everything he did in this movie was so funny.
So funny.
He was really good.
He basically plays Zac Efron's cousin, who's like a burnout.
I would have rather see a movie with him. Why? Okay, so Dirty Grandma is going to be the woman who played, or just I don't think anybody remembers what her picture was like because we didn't see the grandma. But it's her, and then it's Adam Pally, and they do dirty things.
Dirty things. Oh my god! So Adam Pally, he's just kind of like I don't know if I watched. I don't know if there's an extended cut, but there's a lot of scenes where I'm just like, they're just going back and forth, just ad
A lot of
libbing.
alt lines,
Yeah.
and that's what I was thinking. Is it felt like a 2005 comedy in 2016,
Yes.
which isn't a good thing.
No.
Because comedies in 2005, that was when like the start of improvisational,
Yeah.
like alternate lines, and just like you could tell when it's the director shouting things out for them to say.
That was the difference between a hour and 45-minute version of Anchorman and a 3-hour version of Anchorman.
Yeah,
Basically,
definitely.
like Judd Apatow being like, "Oh yeah, we shot 1,000,000 feet of film in this movie because we were doing all these like improvs."
Mm-hmm.
And like,
and let me tell you something, improv is usually bad. And well, then sometimes you'll get a
yeah, especially in this context where it's just like it's improv within a situation that is, you're limited to what you can actually do,
right?
But it's also like it for whatever reason, those like extended features and extended cuts just became movies. Mm-hmm. Now instead of cutting this movie down and cutting all that shit out, they just leave it in. So there are moments where I'm just like, there's 30 seconds of this end of the scene that has nothing to do other than like Adam Pally doing like bits, which again, in certain parts is great and it makes me laugh. But then there are other parts like Henry Zabrowski and Mo Collins when they're in the in the cop.
Oh my god, that went on for so long. There was something I was thinking. It was like, oh, they didn't flesh this thing out at all, and I was like, why? Oh, because they spend 15 minutes doing follow the follower and like making noises, which like was funny for I don't know, maybe 5 seconds of that 15-minute scene.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, we got it. Okay. Like that. Yes, you're right. It's like, pick one of the takes.
Exactly.
Don't just do it for.
So after the funeral, basically Robert, and this is very flimsy, Robert De Niro has requested that Zac Efron, as his grandson, take him to Boca Raton, where him and his wife, his former wife, usually would go at this time of year. They would go down to Boca Raton, Florida. They're currently in Georgia, and they would drive down. And Zac Efron's father was just like, "Why does the guy in the law firm?" He's like, "Why does he have to go? Maybe you can take Adam Pally instead, his cousin, because he's not really doing anything. He's just blowing weed smoke into the other people's faces and stuff."
Yeah, that's pretty funny when he goes in for a hug and he's like, "You're high now. You're high now."
That was great.
Now, I mean, look, we're quoting movies. It's like it's 2005. We're like
the best. And he basically like gets Zac Efron to take him to Boca Raton. It's supposed to be for a night, just to drive him down there and then come up the next day because he's getting married in a week to Juliana Hupp, who is upset that this is going to happen.
Yeah, so why do you have to go spend time with your grandpa whose wife just died? It's just like,
why do you have to do that when we're about to get married for the rest of our lives and have a very long lives together? Also, why are you going to spend one day?
But look, I've never planned a wedding. Doesn't picking out a tie a week before the wedding seem a little too late? Like, shouldn't you have done that already?
I don't know. It seems like there were definitely.
She might as well be shopping for her wedding dress.
They were definitely figuring things out like very late in the game, where it's just like they basically start this road trip, Zac Efron and Dirty Grandpa, a week before he's supposed to get married. But they're still like picking out plates and like looking at the location. There's like a lot of stuff where I'm just like, yeah, this is too late. So he basically is able to like escape from his wife. She makes him take her car instead of his car, his SUV, because she needs to move shit. And of course, her car is a pink Mini Cooper, which is fodder for Robert De Niro to begin one of the many running homophobic jokes in this movie.
Yeah, that's why I looked at, what year did this come out? Because it's like...
it seems so... it's weird because there's like a little turn at the I guess towards the beginning of the third act where it's just like, well, he's not actually homophobic. He actually will protect, and support gay people, but it comes at such a large expense that it's just like, I don't know if you did enough to come back from this. It's just
Right.
kind of like, but yeah, so Dirty Grandpa, he's in his living room watching porn when Zach walks in on him. Robert De Niro is masturbating, watching porn. Zac Efron freaks out and is just like, what are you doing? And he's just like, just like getting ready. He gets dressed and he's got his golf attire and all that stuff, and he's ready. And that's such a tame like scene comparatively to what happens in the rest of this movie. But when you saw this for the first time,
yeah,
what was your reaction to that?
It reminded me of my own grandpa. No,
You're seeing an iconic star of the screen, and this is not some Joe Schmo.
No, it's Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah, it was like, well, he's I don't know why he's doing this movie. Maybe because it's like a Disney star because for a while he was doing Meet the Parents type stuff and like Going Home or Nobody's Home or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking? Like just whatever, like those family movies, The Intern. So he's trying to shed his family movie self and then become back to I guess comedy. I don't know.
Also, I don't know if it's on purpose. It must be on purpose. But Dirty Grandpa's backstory is the same as Meet the Parents.
Yeah, he's a Green Beret, special ops, whatever.
And he, like, from this former life, didn't really talk about it, but knows how to like hotwire a golf cart and all that stuff.
It's really odd.
So there's a part of me that's like, that's maybe on purpose, but also maybe not. I don't know.
They just forgot.
They were just like, yeah, it's whatever. He'll just play this character. So they're on the road and they stop at like a diner. And that's when we see Zoe Deutsch, Aubrey Plaza hanging out. And that's kind of like the inciting incident basically is Dirty Grandpa. Well, so Aubrey Plaza has this thing where she's just like, I want to have sex with.
She's also really funny.
She's hilarious in this movie. And this is, I think, still while Parks and Rec was happening, maybe towards the end of it, right? 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I think she's great in Parks and Rec, but it's like, it's maybe a tenth of the talent that she has and how funny she is from that show. I think she's like, she can obviously do so much more. And this movie was like a great example of the range that she has as far as like, she is so funny and she's great in this. But she has this thing where she's basically like, she's in college, so is Zoe's character. She's in college as well. And they want to have they're going to Daytona Beach, and Aubrey Plaza has this thing where she wants to have sex with a student and a professor, and there was something else. There was a third person,
an alumni. So I think she had sex with a freshman or a student, and an alumni, but she was looking for the professor.
And Robert De Niro catches the eye. I forget. I watched this last night. I already forgotten how this premise starts. He basically starts to talk to them, and Aubrey Plaza kind of says, oh wait, no, that's at the beach, right?
So
no, that's in the car. You're right.
That's in the parking lot. But first,
oh my god.
The girl. So wait, we find out in this scene that Zac Efron used to be a great photographer.
Oh yeah,
in such a funny way. But so Dirty Grandpa wanted him to follow his dreams and become a photographer. So this is a sort of a jumping off point to why this is happening.
Yes, and
but I think I wrote down how I think it's Dirty Grandpa that says to him, or no, the girl what's her name? The one that's
Zoe
with Aubrey.
Shadia.
Shadia. Yeah. So she was like, he used to take such beautiful pictures.
Right.
It's like, I think that guy was in my photography class.
Yes. And then
Wait, so she's in college. Oh, she's a senior? I'm not sure. She's in college or something.
Zac Efron, basically, I think the timeline of it is Zac Efron met her when she was like, or they were in class together when he was like finishing up college, and she was just starting out college. So now she's a senior, and he's graduated, and he's working in the workforce, and she remembers him from a class that she took.
Okay,
and
I see.
And so she they meet, and the key of that scene is that Aubrey Plaza basically decides that she's gonna fuck Robert De Niro because Robert De Niro lies to her and says that he's a professor at Florida State, which piques her interest immediately, and that Zac Efron is actually a photographer for Time magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically lie to these ladies. Shadia, Zoe Deutsch, she's basically like, oh, she's a little intrigued. Aubrey Plaza is just like super horned up. She's just like, I'm gonna have sex with Robert De Niro. And Robert De Niro is not only accepting of that, he is so gung-ho about having sex with Aubrey Plaza that it like you just don't see that kind of horniness from anyone but a 14-year-old teenager. Like, it's wild.
Yeah.
And then they decide to take a detour from their destination of Boca Raton to go to Daytona Beach, where these ladies and Jeffrey Brower Chapman, he's like their third wheel. He's this like tall, handsome, gay dude who's a part of their crew. Who
he gets made fun of for being gay and black by Robert De Niro.
I was gonna say mercilessly teased by Robert De Niro for being gay. And to the point where it's just like, it's just mean. Like, it's not but again, like you said, it feels very 2005 where you're like, just make these non sequitur jokes,
right,
based on really nothing. And so Bradley, who's that character, he's just like, Robert De Niro, fuck him, he's whatever. And Zac Efron, he's doing his best Barbie doll Ken, so he's just kind of like, oh, grandpa. But he also clearly agrees that that's not cool. So they meet at Daytona Beach, and this is the beginning of the movie is basically Airplane as far as how silly and ridiculous it is. Yes, it takes place in reality, but also like, no, it does not.
Yeah. We start seeing, so they go to the store, right? Is when we go to store.
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas plays
also good,
a phenomenal bit part. More than a bit part.
He's this is the start of him showing up in almost every scene from now until the end of the movie.
He plays a character named Pam is his name, and his character is introduced. Robert De Niro and Zac Efron are like in a like, it's like a novelty shop where they got dumb shirts and stickers and stuff.
Oh, I thought that was funny. And anytime I laughed during this movie, I felt ashamed and said, "Fuck you, fuck this movie for making me laugh at that." But the T-shirt thing when he's like giving Zac Efron advice,
right? And it's all just like dumb T-shirts. Wait, we missed. There's one part where they went golfing. And,
right.
And Robert De Niro is sticking his thumb up Zac Efron's butt when he's not looking. But Zac Efron comes dressed out, and I just wrote this line down because I was just like, this is such a line. They're golfing, and Zac Efron's like, how do I look? And Robert De Niro is like, you look like the keynote speaker at a butt fucking convention. And I was just like, what the fuck? Hearing Robert De Niro, Jake LaMotta say that it's mind blowing.
I wonder if this part was originally supposed to be played by Vince Vaughn, and they were like, "Oh, he's not a grandpa, though."
You know what? If Vince Vaughn played Robert De Niro's character, that would have been something. It would have felt more believable.
Yeah.
It would have been so much more believable. because I think, yeah, Vince Vaughn, obviously, he can be very funny. So yeah, they're at the store. Jason Mantzoukas, he's introduced as someone who comes into the store with a horse mask on, pointing a gun at both of them, saying he's going to rob it. They freak out, and then he's like, "Oh, JK guys, I own this store." And then
funny.
he's just like, "Whatever you do, I will not sell you drugs." And then there's just like, "Oh, okay, because we're not cops." You're like, "Great, well, here are all these drugs." And
he also fires the gun in the store.
yes, he does.
And says,
there are pedestrians walking by. It's just like, it's
Florida.
It's Florida. Yeah, I thought that was a hilarious scene. And yeah, introduces this ticking time bomb of a character who will just come in at any point and just fuck shit up and then leave. And then just like, yeah, they go to the beach and then they're like partying, right? They go to this party.
Well, they go to the beach and then the two guys show up. The two guys who are the villains, I guess.
So this is a classic 80s.
They're boyfriends, maybe? The girls' boyfriends?
I think they're just like dudes who go to that school with them that maybe think they're in with those ladies, but they're not really in with them. But this is a classic 80s archetype of we have the people who we like, who are usually like a little bit more nerdy or whatever you would say. They're not the cool kids. And then you'd have the people that bully those kids, and that's who these characters are. They're basically like Dumb and Dumber. They're like, one is just like super ripped and like dumb as a rock, and the other is just like kind of chubby but also dumb as a rock.
And they also make fun of him relentlessly for being fat.
Yeah, I know. And he's not that fat. But also it's just kind of like, this is the type of movie where if you wear something, you're going to get ripped apart for it. It doesn't matter. And so, yeah, those dudes are there and they're talking about, maybe going to play lacrosse professionally in Europe or whatever. And Robert De Niro is just like, look at these, dum-dums. And then they start to party. Jason Mantzoukas' character comes in and he gives Zac Efron a vape pen.
Wait, but first, they play it. They have a drinking game, and Robert
that's
pushes up Xanax and puts it in one of the cups, which I didn't understand.
It doesn't really pay off.
I don't know who it was for. It was for like Zac Efron accidentally drank it, and I think that like screwed him up.
Well, it was
turned him into a party guy.
It was for the two dum-dums so that they could kind of be passed out or whatever, so that Aubrey Plaza could have sex with Robert De Niro's character.
Yeah.
But it kind of backfires because Zac Efron accidentally drinks some of the Xanax beer.
And it apparently has the effect of Molly, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. So he basically, the next time we see him, he is completely naked except for a plush backpack strapped around his dick and balls. And he's dancing around with like things written on him. Jason Mantzoukas' character comes in with drugs, obviously, and he's like, here's a vape pen. Zac Efron takes a massive hit on it, and Mantzoukas is like, he's just like, what is this? He's like, well, that's weed, because this is crack. Wait, no, that's crack, and this is weed. Wait, you know what? They're both crack. And then he's just like, I did crack. And then he just like freaks out, and he ends up passed out on the beach.
He steals a motorcycle.
Passed out on the beach. And then the first of many check-ins, because at this point of the night, he's supposed to be sleeping so that he could wake up the next morning and drive back home to his wife, Meredith.
Yeah.
And he ends up waking up on the beach with obviously penises drawn on his face with a permanent marker, and then his wife like calls him and then
wants to
FaceTime
him.
Yeah. And then he's just like in this situation, this kid's just like, oh, here's the little stuffed, little dolly that's hanging around his waist. I was like, oh my god.
Can I kiss the bee? It's a bumblebee.
Yeah, it's a bumblebee on his on his dick. And the kid is just like, I want to hold the bee. And then the dad, because the kid just wanders away from his family. The dad sees Zac Efron like holding this child, and then obviously insinuating something not so great. And then gets chased out by the dad. Meanwhile, Robert De Niro is sad because Aubrey Plaza was too drunk to have sex with him. So they decide to
wait. Zac Efron is thrown in jail, though.
That's right, thrown in jail. That's where Henry Zabrowski and Mo Collins, as the officers,
have their
12-minute bit parade, where Henry Zabrowski is just like, Zac Efron wakes up in jail in a holding cell, basically. And it's just like, can I have my phone call? And he's just like, yeah, sure. I'm also going out for lunch. Do you want anything? He's like, yeah. He's like, what do you want? You want like a sandwich? He's like, yeah, sure. He's like, turkey? Does that be good for you? He's like, yeah, turkey's fine. Like,
it goes on so long where it could have just been like, because he asks for a pair of pants and he's like, right. Oh, sure, I'll get you a pair of pants. What do you want, sweatpants or khakis? And then he's like, well, khakis. He's like, oh, I'm also going to go get a sandwich. Do you want anything? And it's like, it should be, oh, okay, you want that? Okay, fuck you. But it's
exactly.
Not. It goes on way too long.
They prolong it. And then ultimately, and then Mo Collins comes back. She takes a picture of her crotch on his phone. And then
she signs up for Grindr
Grindr, yeah.
But also signs up for Grindr in like maybe half a second.
Like immediately turns the phone on, is already signed up for Grindr. And then Zac Efron gets his bail posted, and they're like, he's like, could I have some pants? And he's like, sure. You have a choice between we broke up, what was it, an orgy, a 90s orgy party?
Yeah, like a murder.
And it was just like, you have a choice between these pants that are covered in cum or these pants covered in blood. And he's just like, I guess I'll take the ones in blood. And he's like, here you go. And he gives them the pants covered in cum. So he comes out of the police thing to Robert De Niro, who's kind of like, more glib, and Zac Efron blows up on him. He's basically like, I shouldn't be doing this. What the fuck? Like, you're not invited to my wedding. Fuck you. All that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, all right, fine. Can you just drop me off at my friend's place? And I forgot about this. I forgot.
Oh, yeah. Because it's so short. Oh, that's the thing that I was thinking about is like, do you want to reveal what who this cameo was?
Yeah, this cameo is Danny Glover.
And he's pretty funny, but it's only a 2-minute scene, and that's when I was like, why was this so short? As Danny Glover, he was funny. They could have had this big back and forth. And it's because they spent all that time with the cops.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Danny Glover, this is a classic. Like, I'm super famous. This movie is too small for me. Like, I really shouldn't be in this, but I'll be in this because you're paying me a lot of money, and I'm only in one scene. Yeah. He's literally, his film day was just probably a day, and they're like, all right, you're in this wheelchair, you are doing, I forget what that, it's not crocheting, right? Like some pattern, like making needlepoint.
Yeah.
And he's like in a group home, basically. And he's
this is Robert De Niro's army buddy or something.
Yes. Right? They used to work together, who knows where, like probably in Vietnam, but whatever. So they have this background as being as a part of this Green Beret squad or whatever.
Wait, we skipped the like dance off thing at the right? Didn't that happen?
Oh, I thought that was after.
Oh, okay. Then we could just talk about it.
we don't have to hit every scene either, because there's so many dumb scenes.
Oh, I thought people would be mad if we didn't break it down scene by scene.
Scene by scene. Well, but what I loved about this, or I don't know if I loved it, but it was like the Danny Glover, it's such a weird cameo.
Yeah.
Because he's just such this like very, same with De Niro, which is like these are actors who have a certain reverence in the film world for the types of roles that they've done. Obviously they've done their kind of like family fare, neither of them have done a movie like this, I would say. I don't know if Danny Glover's IMDb has a movie like Dirty Grandpa on it. I mean, beyond
I could scroll through it right now.
But like,
Let's see.
it was clearly like a little bit more of a cash grab than De Niro's cash grab was, because he's basically in one scene. He's also making gay jokes, so maybe it's just something old people do. Mark, I don't know.
This is when it starts of people calling Zac Efron a lesbian.
Right.
Wait, so maybe you're right. This might be before the dance-off thing, but I thought they had a falling out after that.
I think they have multiple falling outs.
No, okay, so that's that's where this got confusing, is because it's unnecessary. Also, it's like I don't know.
Like, I think this scene with Danny Glover is very unnecessary. It's something that it could later be explained. Basically, what happens is Robert De Niro has a realization that most of his friends are getting old, and that he's kind of living and fulfilling the life that he should want to live. Now that he is unencumbered by being married, and he realizes his time on earth is not as long as he would like to think. And I think it also gives Zac Efron an opportunity to see that side of it too, for Robert De Niro's character. It's just like, all right, maybe, because like this whole movie is full of, how do I justify not leaving Robert De Niro by himself right now and going back home? And so there are moments where it's just like Robert De Niro is put in a situation that kind of reveals his age, or he connects with his grandson more, that kind of keeps Zac Efron like interested, quote unquote, of like being around him.
Mm-hmm.
And only later do we like understand that De Niro is doing all of this not because he needs a ride to Boca Raton, but because he thinks Zac Efron is making a mistake marrying Meredith, and feels that he failed raising his father, who's in turn failing raising his grandson.
Yeah. So now we go to that dance off thing. That's like this big crowd and huge stage. And who do you think is hosting that dance off?
Well, it'd have to be Tan Pam.
Yep, it's Tan Pam.
Pam.
Back at it.
Back at it. Also, wait, we missed a part where Tan Pam was in the jail. He was in the holding cell with Zac Efron.
Yeah,
he's just like taking a dump this whole time, where Zac Efron's talking to the officers, and Jason Mantzoukas is like, "Hey, sorry about that. Can you let me out?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Also, I came with a bunch of
Can I have my drugs back? And they're like, "Yeah,
yeah, Pam, whatever you say." And then it's just like one of those movies where it's just like, if you just are able to talk in complete sentences, you can kind of do whatever you want. So they have the little dance off, and it like, we don't have to go into it too much, but it's basically like Robert De Niro is shirtless, Zac Efron is shirtless, the two dumb guys are shirtless, and it's just like them doing a dance off, which again was not something you would do in 2016, I guess. Maybe a spring break thing like in the 90s, but it was just kind of weird. Also for two dudes to do it, where it's just like, clearly it would be a wet t-shirt contest if this was, there is pretty much zero nudity in this movie except for Robert De Niro's dick.
Prosthetic penis. Which so that's the following of it. They do this dance off thing, and they win.
They leave before winning.
Yeah, so they shoot one of the guys in the head with a beer can out of a modified t-shirt cannon that Robert De Niro makes right there.
Yeah.
And then so they take these guys' hotel room. No.
Yes.
Wait, what the fuck happened? Because I'm trying to fit, because I thought they ended up at the girl's house sleeping in the same bed, but I guess that's later.
Yeah.
Maybe that's after they wear their suits to the club. Okay, yes, that's what it is.
That is true. Well, oh man.
So there's a lot of unnecessary scenes. Whatever. So they end up in a hotel room. That's basically. Zac Efron is embarrassed. He can't be doing these things because he's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer.
That's our second of 3 falling outs, maybe.
Exactly. So they get put in the hospital. and they take their hotel room, and that's when he reveals he was in the Green Beret and all that stuff. And they're like, look, let's just have a good night. Tomorrow you can do whatever, but let's just have a good night. So they go to like their version of the Copacabana, dressed like that, I guess, like in kind of like blazers and, you know, open collared button down shirts. And they go into a nightclub that Robert De Niro is familiar with, and he's just like, we'll go to this place. It's a classy place. We'll meet the ladies there.
Oh, wait. I also want to talk about too many slow motion walking with music transitions. You know what I mean?
There wasn't enough time in the movie?
Because there was one of them I think like getting dressed, or there were two in a row where there was one of them walking somewhere.
Yes.
Or whatever, maybe getting in a car or something, and then one of them walking into the club right after that. So it was just like...
It might have been... Was there one during the golf scene, which we didn't even talk about Robert De Niro hitting on the two ladies who are golfing? We'll just skip that.
Yeah. Whatever.
There's so much of that stuff. But yeah, so they go into this nightclub. Robert De Niro is just like, I know this nightclub. It's great. It's a real classy place. One of the last places in this area that's still kind of like the old school place. They go in there and womp womp, it's full of black people. Not what they were expecting. And everybody, it's the classic, you know, TV, movies, record scratch. Everybody looks at these two white dudes walking into a predominantly black nightclub, but there's no record scratch. It's just like they walk in and people are like, what the fuck? Why are you here? And then the two white ladies like come meet them, and obviously that's fine. And then they start like dancing and like dirty dancing. This is where like Zac Efron is like starting to like let loose, like being sober, let loose, because obviously he was letting loose when he was like dosed. And Robert De Niro is basically he's basically simulating sex with Aubrey Plaza on the dance floor. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, they're grinding.
And then Bradley, their black gay friend, is starting to get bullied by this black dude in the nightclub.
Yeah.
And it causes a commotion, and Robert De Niro comes over, and he's basically like, you know, leave him alone. And the guy's just like, well, you want to take it outside or something? And Robert De Niro's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And Zac Efron and him go outside, and it's what, 8 black people versus Robert De Niro, who is 70, and Zac Efron.
Yeah.
And Robert De Niro is basically like, you're gonna have to take the first punch, but I got this.
Which is also pretty funny.
Which is great, because Zac Efron's like, what? Okay, what? And then the guy, he goes up to the guy who was bullying the gay dude.
Yeah.
Takes a punch, and the camera just focuses on Zac Efron for a moment. Meanwhile, there's like sound effects of Robert De Niro beating up the other 7 people. Yeah. And he's got this like Dominicano cigar in his mouth, and he's just like, all right, let's do this. And the guy turns around, he's just like, wait, what? And De Niro is just like, you know, basically like beats him up, and then like puts him in an arm bar, and basically is like,
yeah, so
apologize.
the whole group, his whole crew is all like on the ground, like, ow, ow, like, so
yeah, like a kung fu movie.
Yeah.
And
then puts him in an arm bar sort of thing.
And forces him to apologize to the gay kid, to be like, hey, that wasn't right, and you know, I should be more tolerant and accepting and all that stuff. And the gay black characters is like, yeah, that's good, thank you.
And now he likes Robert De Niro.
And he likes Robert De Niro. And do we even see him in the end of the rest of the movie? I don't think he's there after that. He's maybe in like a scene, like tertiarily, like in the scene, but he doesn't have much lines after that. But he's cool. Aubrey Plaza's just like, let's get going. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And Jason, that night, is basically, he's starting to connect with Shadia, who he met in film class, photography class.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and he said, he was like, are you still taking landscape photos? Like, overexposed landscape photos.
Oh my
it's
God.
like, this doesn't make sense for any, like, they have such a awkward back and forth that is meant to be witty, but it's just not.
They would call that a May-December relationship, where
What
it's
does
just
that
like,
mean?
well, they're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Like she's a hippie,
Yeah.
travels around in a bus, like doing climate change work, and he's works SEC compliance and comes to the beach with a sweater wrapped around his polo. And so he's at this point he's connecting with her, and he's like, I want to come clean to her and basically tell her that, like, I'm not a Times photographer, I'm a lawyer. And Robert De Niro is just like, I don't want that to happen because I'm trying to fuck tonight.
Well, so before that, that's when they're at, I think they go back to her house.
To the hotel, to like the little pool, and they're talking about it.
No, but no, because isn't that when they're going to bed? Because Aubrey Plaza got sick, which we don't see on camera. Thankfully, I hate watching. I want to, like, movies are too comfortable showing people throw up, though, by the way.
Yeah,
I just want to mention that. It happens in, like, every movie.
Every movie.
And I hate it.
No, they're going to... oh, wait, that's right. You're right. They get into the fight, and then they go to the protest. And then she tells him he's going... not protest. They're going to, like, some, like, hippie commune where he's just like, cool dance ball, and it's just like, it's a movement orb, you loser. And it's just like, what the fuck? He's like, hey, cool hacky sack.
The fact that we can't string together the order of events that happened, even though we just watched it, there's way too much.
I'm on Wikipedia right now following the plot because I lost my train of thought.
Okay, so let's
so whatever. They go to the commune, and that's where she tells him, I'm going to be leaving soon. I'm going on a ship for a year. And he's starting to, like, be like, oh, I don't know. I kind of really like you. And he's figuring out, how do I tell her? Mm-hmm. So he's going to tell her, but before he can, the two dum-dums, they do a Google search. And they find out that Robert De Niro...
No, so we're missing... So here's what I think happens, is they go... at some point, they sleep at her hotel room in the same bed. So it's like a multi-room hotel or something like that. I don't know. But that's when Robert De Niro takes off his pants, sleeping naked.
Dick
and
next
then
to Zach's face.
Zac Efron closes his eyes and he goes, hey... whatever his name is, and he opens his eyes, and there's like a prosthetic penis near his face. A weird thing for a grandpa to do.
Yeah.
And then they go, somehow they think they get kidnapped. What happened there?
No, so they...
because they go to the karaoke thing. He becomes friends with that, the crew.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Fuck me. So, yeah,
I don't know when that happens.
I think that's in between... I was about to say. So they basically go to the karaoke night. No, they're hanging out in this room with the black people he beat up. They're
I'm not
smoking.
sure how we get there. Yeah, but
however we get there, they're smoking weed, and then Robert De Niro says it. I remember this. He's like, "So when can you say the N-word?"
Yeah.
And he's like, and the black guy's like, "Whenever, when we say it's okay." Yeah. Cut to them in karaoke, and Robert De Niro is singing, is it Today Is a Good Day?
Yeah.
It's an Ice Cube song. And then before he says the N-word in the song, he's like, can I say it to the audience? And the audience is like, yeah. And then Robert De Niro proceeds to say nigga multiple times. And then as he's finished with the song, he walks out and he says it again. And it's just kind of like blowing my mind.
Yeah. And they let him, the black crew lets him.
Yeah.
Zac Efron is the only one who's like, no.
Yeah. You should never say that. And the black people are like, yeah, you can say it. It's fine. Yeah. And then.
So he drops his wallet somewhere in that process. And then that's when pick up his.
That the two dumb dudes are like sneaky, and they're hiding behind the chair where all of them are sitting, and they pull their wallets.
Oh, okay.
And then,
but Zac Efron sings.
Yeah,
and it's like, we get it. You can sing. This is the first of two times that he sings.
Yeah, because he's High School Musical.
That's what I remembered. Yeah, I was like,
Clearly
oh,
he can sing. So yeah, he's like outshining Shadia, who's doing a duet with him, and he's like singing to his heart's content. And then that's when they go back that night. Jason decides he wants to tell Shadia who he really is. Robert De Niro's like, don't. I would really want to fuck Aubrey Plaza tonight.
yes.
They go in and they realize that the two dum-dums are there with the ladies, and they've told them, and they're just like, why don't you tell them the truth?
Mm-hmm.
And they ask Robert De Niro, and they find like the wrong like information, like it's not Robert De Niro's character, and they're like, oh, that's not me. He's like, well, Zac Efron, why don't you tell him what you are? Right? Aren't you supposed to be engaged, and going to get married next week? And then he's like, yeah, I am. And Shadia is really upset. And then the cops come. Why? Because the dum-dums called Henry Zabrowski and Mo Collins and is like checking their jacket because they planted Pam's drugs into his jacket. They get hauled. Zac Efron gets hauled to jail. Robert De Niro does not, right?
No, for some reason he doesn't.
He's fine.
But yeah, so Shadia is pissed off, obviously, because she got lied to. Yeah. Aubrey Plaza does not care. She still wants to fuck Dirty Grandpa.
Dirty Grandpa. And then the next day,
which I thought was fine, because it's like, you don't want, like, I hate that in movies where it's like there could be whatever the thing is like they're friends and then they're not friends and then they have to make it up to this. It's just a romantic comedy thing.
Totally.
So it's like,
it's
okay,
a trope.
Yeah.
So now that he's like has been truthful, or he has come forward with the truth, she's upset. He goes to jail. He goes to the same holding cell, and then he gets bailed out by Robert De Niro again, coming out now with the pants with blood on him, because they only have two pairs of pants, the one with cum and the one with blood. Now he's wearing the other thing.
Wait, what happened to his pants in this scenario?
I don't. I think he should have had his pants, but for whatever reason, he comes out dressed without them. He's pissed, and he's like, he's just like, you know what? I'm going back home, and I gotta tell Meredith, my future wife, that I can't get married.
Yeah. And then it leads to I think the funniest scene in terms of like, I don't, in the like rehearsal dinner or something.
Oh yeah. So basically he goes back and it's like a montage of like him choosing plates, and it's clearly like Meredith is like talking his ear off, and he's like kind of droning on, like whatever. He receives a package from Robert De Niro, and it's like it's the needlework that Danny Glover was making, which was a black guy fucking a white woman, and that was the thing that they drew. That is the thing that he made. And then underneath it's got like it's got a camera, and it's kind of like trying to get Jason to like realize his true thing.
Yeah.
Even though like he's still trepidatious about it all. They have a wedding rehearsal, and again, opportunity to sing. But before that, they're doing like
and a great place to call off your wedding.
Absolutely. At the rehearsal.
He decides to do it. Yeah.
Zac Efron decides to like come clean. Well, not come clean. Basically tell his fiance in the middle of a duet while. So they're basically supposed to be showcasing their love through photos that are being projected behind her.
And somehow it's live, and
yes,
De Niro hacks into this system and puts photos of, I guess, that night when Zac Efron smoked crack and was on a bunch of Xanax.
Right. He's like in like very ridiculous photos of him being naked and drunk and like all this stuff. And like the audience is just kind of like aghast. Meanwhile, Meredith is like oblivious because she's so tone deaf in her singing that she doesn't realize that like they've all just like kind of tuned her out. Zac Efron is like on a second level across from her, so he's like singing like across the room to her. Yeah. And then he's like starts talking about how he's just like, oh, I don't think this is gonna work. And then the audio cuts out, And
this
then
is very funny, by the way.
It's a hilarious game of telephone where
When he
he
like pats on the microphone, and then
he's like, yeah, you keep doing that. I think that'll fix it.
how he's like, they cut tapping. It doesn't matter. They cut the power.
And then Adam Pally, Nick, he's basically
Oh,
like,
he has cornrows now.
he's got cornrows now. He tells his cousin basically like, can you tell her? And he's just like, oh, I don't know if I could do it, man. I don't know if I should do it. I'm gonna tell.
Oh my god, this is so funny.
I'm gonna tell this guy, and then this guy is actually, and he's just like, hey, can you tell her that he doesn't want to marry her anymore and that all that stuff? And turns out that guy is deaf, and you know it because he signs back to Adam Pally in sign language. He's like, well, how about you, uncle, or whatever? And the guy stands up, and he's got the voice thing that you have if you're a smoker. The I don't know,
yeah.
And he tries to tell Meredith, but she can't hear him. He's like, "Can you?" And Nick's like, "Can you turn the volume up on that?" And he's just like, "That's as loud as it goes."
And then he's like, "Can you ask someone else? Because I'm worried who I'm going to ask next.
Right,
It's going to be disabled."
He tells the waiter. And
Yeah.
the waiter goes up and tries to tell him, and then she's basically like, whatever, I had sex with Nick, your cousin, anyways, while you were away. And then Nick's just like, oh, ouch. And then Zac Efron's like, whatever. He bounces.
And it's daytime, by the way. This is what this was the most shocking thing to me is they're having this rehearsal dinner, and they go outside, and it's like the afternoon. And I'm
it's like 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was the other weird thing. So it's like the interior makes it feel, well, also you just assume rehearsal dinner at night because that's when you have dinner, dum-dum. It makes sense. And so he's outside. Robert De Niro is like nowhere to be found. Zac Efron's just like, oh, he must be in this white van. And then Robert De Niro is like, it's not in the white van. We stopped using those years ago. We use it's the guy over there in the moped who's like zooming by. He's like, that's who hacked the system or whatever.
Yeah.
And so what happens is Robert De Niro is just like, I track down Shadia, who's about to get on a boat to leave
a bus. A bus to a boat. Yeah.
A bus. He's just like, I found the bus that's going to a boat that will take you to her. And how are we gonna get there? Well, it turns out Pam brought his ice cream truck where he sells drugs because he's like, turns out it's really easy to sell drugs to kids in this thing.
Oh, and we get classic Mantzoukas where he's like, so the father jumps on.
Yes.
And he's like,
he's
listen,
like,
Guy, if you don't want an ice cream or some drugs.
Yeah, get off. And then he's just like, or I'll taser you with this taser right now. And he's just like, what? He's like, starts to taser him. He's just like, is that good enough? Taser's Zac Efron's father, Robert De Niro's son. And basically, like, they drag his like unconscious body onto the ice cream truck as they zoom to chase this bus down. Meanwhile,
and draw dicks on his face.
And they're drawing dicks on his face. Meanwhile, the only 2 cops in Florida are chasing them.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro is like doing his best Green Beret, like evading them. They find the bus. Jason is like, wants them to pull over so he can talk to her. They finally pull over.
Jason meaning Zac
Efron. Yep.
Yeah.
They pull over and he's basically like, don't do it. Don't go. And she's just like, no, I'm going. And then he's just like, oh. And then he walks away. And he's like, oh, duh, I'll go with you. And then she's like, really? She's just like, oh my God, really? And that turn is so fucking quick. It's just like, I'm not doing that. And he's just like, oh, okay, I get it. And then he's just like, I'll come with you. And she's like, oh my God, you would? You would do that for me? And then.
Wait, here's one of the funniest parts of the movie to me is when he goes up to Robert De Niro to say goodbye. And it's like, whatever. He's like, oh, I'm glad I could, have fun. Look me up when you get back. We'll hang out or something. And then he's like, wait. Andre the Giant used to go to the Playboy Mansion and stack 5 girls on top of each other and finger them at the same time. That's it. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Apropos of nothing.
Yeah.
not related to it's not like it's clearly the moment, and then we were just like, here's some life advice I as an older person would bestow upon a younger person about to truly discover who they are and what they want to do for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
But instead of that, I'm going to tell
a non sequitur joke.
Not even a joke. It's just
oh yeah, not even a joke. Just
it's just like a graphic sexual thing. And then he has a heart to heart with his son.
It's very brief. He's like, sorry, I was a shitty father.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's okay, we'll make up.
Yeah, so weird.
Yeah.
And then the best part is we cut to like the next scene, and Robert De Niro goes to Aubrey Plaza's house.
No, she's at his house.
So she's at his house, right?
Yeah.
And she's wearing his pants, which is really hilarious. And she's just like, I got my old pants on. And then
it's all these old man jokes to him, which is pretty funny.
They have sex, and she's just basically like, tell me you've fallen and you can't get up. And he's just like, I've fallen, I can't get up. And she's like, try to find your glasses. Act like you've lost your glasses. It's great, and she's great.
Yeah, that's
and it's
really
funny, and it's really playful. And then we cut to Zac Efron and Zoe Deutsch. They're holding a baby at like a baptism, and you're just like, clearly, months later, and it's like, okay, they found love and they're having a baby. Wrong. Turns out it's Robert De Niro and Aubrey Plaza's baby.
Mm-hmm.
And Aubrey Plaza is like full mom now, and she's just like, you never call anymore. And you're just like,
stereotypical, not stereotypical, but like cliche jokes of Zac Efron. Yeah. Like they're doing a bit.
Yes.
Zac Efron's like, she's like, did you get my card? And he's like, yeah, it was a check for $12. And it's like, oh,
it's just like, yeah, it's so funny. And Robert De Niro is like holding his child, his baby, and then like lifts the like gown and is like, look at the baby's dick. It's like my dick. And Zac Efron's just like, Jesus.
And then, Pam is also there.
Yes, Pam is there.
Pam
with Adam Pally, and that is a spin-off movie, a Hobbs and Shaw, that I want to see. I want to see Mantzoukas and Pally as those characters on their Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, of course.
Because it was hilarious. But yeah, Dirty Grandpa. We basically just gave you the movie, the plot. But it was. Yeah. If you had, what's our rating system? The all right, let's get started rating system for movies, TV,
for
music.
All movies, or for just Dirty Grandpa?
What is our rating system, and then what is our rating for this movie? Okay.
Well, can't do. I mean, stars are too easy.
So how about we do Oscars butts?
Okay.
So 5 out of 5 Oscars butts, how many Oscars butts does this movie Dirty Grandpa receive?
Like one, 1.5.
Wow. I was gonna say 4. This is a movie similar to, maybe this is another movie we'll do one time, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
No, because Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 is straight up 5 Oscar butts.
Well, that's what I mean. I think Dirty Grandpa.
And you feel the same way about Paul Blart too, though.
I do. I agree. I think it's a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
But I think what I love about that movie, it has elements of what this movie. So Paul Blart is a much more like PG version, whereas Dirty Grandpa is clearly like the hard R, unrated version of Paul Blart, meaning that it's like they're both silly. They both kind of have these moments where it's just like, does this scene really have anything to do with anything? Or is it just funny? Or is it just dumb? And I think that's what I remember about this movie, and rewatching this movie. It was so much fun to watch. I was laughing a lot through this movie. Partly,
really?
I was partly because of how much I forgot and how horrible some of the shit is. But also, like, there are some genuinely funny stuff in there. And the cast, like Mantzoukas and De Niro and Efron, Aubrey Plaza, like they all have great scenes and parts in it.
There are there's really funny things in it, but I feel like if I saw this in theaters or paid for it, I'd be kind of angry.
Yeah, buy it if you can, but also like this is a perfect watch it on a streaming service platform type thing. Like if you catch it and you find it, this is fun. Have a couple of brewskis.
You can watch it on a plane. It's a plane watch.
It's a plane watch.
If we're ever allowed to go on planes anymore.
Definitely not. I give it a full recommend. 4 out of 5 Oscar butts.
Okay.
All right. Do you care about any of the like statistic stuff? It was made for.
We should go through that stuff and then trivia. If the
budget was around, it says 11 to 25 million, so let's say around there, and it made 105 million. So definitely
a hit.
Definitely made some money. Yeah. Do you have any trivia?
Let's see. Do you have any other statistics while I look for something good?
It received 5 nominations at the Golden Raspberry Awards: Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Supporting Actress, and Worst Screenplay, and it didn't win. No, I don't know. Well, the director, we should say, Dan Mazer, is the guy who was involved in like Ollie G and Borat, and Bruno.
Yeah.
Like he's an old stalwart of the dirty.
Well, get this. Hey, check this out. The screenplay was featured in the 2011 Blacklist.
Oh wow!
List of most liked unmade scripts.
Yeah, the Blacklist is basically a repository for screenplays that are really good, potentially, but have yet to be made. It's kind of
so this was in the works at 2000 during 2011.
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges and Michael Douglas were considered for the role of Dirty Grandpa.
Wow. Yeah. What was some other trivia? Jeff Bridges would be wild. I don't think I could see Jeff Bridges or Michael Douglas in this role.
No.
It would be weird.
But Robert De Niro definitely isn't the only person.
No, I know, but it was just, I don't know. It's weird.
Robert De Niro was not involved in the promotional circuit, so he didn't do any press or anything.
Not surprising. Not surprising. Yeah, that's probably all the good ones. All the good trivia.
It just says what kind of camera Zac Efron uses.
This is on IMDb. Yeah, that's Dirty Grandpa. Check it if you like dumb movies. Don't check it if you don't. And like we said, there are plenty of really funny people in it that are worth even just checking out for their stuff in it. But yeah, I think that'll be a wrap. And I guess we should say, all right, let's get started.
Let's get started.